Hi, welcome to Motioneer Overview. Let's go on Window and select Motioneer script. If the alert window shows up, click OK, and after the Preferences window appears, go in the Scripting section here and tick Allow script to write files. In all After Effects previous versions, the option is in the General section. OK, done. Here it is, Motioneer. So, what is Motioneer? It's a motion engine. It lets you copy, store, and reuse layers and masks animations in a smart way. Let's start by adding the red layer animations to the blue layer. In order to do that, I can select the transformation keys and click on the copy button here. As you see, almost everything freezes. I can only choose to add or to replace animations. Let's add first. Then I select the target layer and the added animation start time point. Look, Motioneer attached the animation seamlessly. In fact, in the composition, it starts where the original animation ends. If I need to attach the animation before the original animation, I just move the time bar and I add again. The added animation ends where the original one starts. OK, now let's undo. To exit the copy mode, I just click on the copy button again. The script gets back to the full state. If I select and I copy only some keys, like position for example, only the selected keys will be attached to the target layer. OK, let's undo. What if I want to add a mask? Well, let's select, copy, and add. Look, Motioneer asks if I want to add the mask to the original layer mask. If I click No, nothing happens. The mask is not added. But if I select Yes, the new mask is added. Now look at the mask's opacity. The old mask swaps with the added one. So up to this frame, the old mask opacity is 100% and the new mask is 0. From next frame, the opacity values are inverted and the new mask is fully active. It also works by adding the mask before the animation, of course. To copy layer transformations and masks all, I select just the layer itself and nothing more. Let's copy. Motioneer will add all the transformations and masks present on the source layer. Add. Yes, mask 2. As you see, the mask opacity swap is present. So the mask changes. And if I select and I add the anim before the original one, a third mask is added. It changes at the first adding time and at the second one. Position animation is motion path based. Motioneer lets you transform the motion paths with a very simple and powerful tool. Let's select some position keys and click on the Edit tool. Here, a guide layer is generated. Now, all the selected keys paths are shown, and every transformation edit affects only the motion paths, not the other layer's properties. It also works with 3D rotation or scale. The layer is still here. When I'm done editing, I just click on the Edit tool again, and the 3D edited paths are converted to real 2D motion again. OK, let's undo. Motioneer Edit affects all the keys. What I'm gonna do is to make the layer fits the comp horizontal sides. Left side. OK, let's move to the end of the animation and scale the guide to fit the right side. Well, I think it's a pretty good edit. I exit the edit mode. Let's check. Yeah, it works. To remove animations from selected layers, there is this tool. It removes every mask and transformations keys on the layer freezing it at the current time state. It also removes track maths, expressions, and parenting, but I'll face this part later, okay? Let's undo and talk about replacing animations. I copy all the blue layer animations, then I select the red target layer, and I choose the Replace option. OK. Replace erases everything from the layer and set the copied animation as the current one. As you see, it is a perfect replica of the copied animation. As for the Add tool, it is also possible to replace only selected properties, keys, and masks. One more thing, if I try to replace or add the copied animation on multiple selections, an alert message shows up. That's because the source layer's selection and the target layer ones don't match. In fact, I copied just one layer. So Motioneer asks to select one layer to match the selection. Done. And now it works, of course. The copied animation is related to the current layer and composition size. If I resize the comp, let's say 1600 by 700, as you see, the animation doesn't fit the comp anymore. I hide the blue layer to make it clear. Copy mode is still active. Let's try to replace again. Look, Motioneer automatically resizes the animation to make it perfectly identical to the original copied one, whose fit the comp size. Or if the layer size is different, well, let's try. Layer settings, 300 by 200. It doesn't fit the comp again, of course. Replace again. Motioneer did the job. And it doesn't matter the comp or layer size, Motioneer Replace tool always sets the animation as the original one. One more thing about mask selection. Look at this animation. I animated the mask path and I modified the feather and expansion properties. If I select the mask without selecting its properties, and then I copy and I add or replace on a different layer, Motioneer adds the mask with all its modified properties, so the path animation and also the feather and expansion. OK, let's undo, and now I select only the feather property. Copy again, and as you see, the mask is added. But now only the feather property is set, not the other mask properties. So again, the rule is that there are two ways: copy masks themselves or copy mask selected properties. Motioneer is very precise. How does Motioneer handle multi-selections? Well, look at the animation here. OK, now pay attention. I select the bottom source layer first and the top source layer later. It doesn't matter the layer's selection order. When I copy the layers, Motioneer always sets the copied data from the top selected layer to the bottom selected layer. This is also true for the target layers. It doesn't matter the selection order. As you see, the top layers are aligned. And the bottom layers are aligned too. Motioneer always applies data from top target layer to bottom target layer. The same rule applies to multi-layer selected properties. Let's undo. Look, I select the mask path on the bottom layer and the position property on the top layer. I copy and add again without taking care of the selection order. The mask I selected on the source bottom layer is present on the bottom target layer, and the position previously selected on the source top layer is applied to the target top layer. In this comp, there are two layers, one text layer and one shape layer. The animation is very simple. Let's try to edit the position paths. Well, in order to proceed, I need to pre-compose them. That's because text and shape layers anchor point is not absolute. I can also decide to always pre-compose text and shapes. Motioneer won't ask me again. I click Yes to proceed, The layers are now comps. I move the guide just a bit, and I exit the edit mode. The layers are still comps, so if I need to edit the paths again, they are ready. If I want to unprecompose the layers again, I just click on the Remove button. Motioneer detects that they were previously precomposed, and so not only removes the animations, but also unprecomposes them. Well, I undo all, and I copy the layers. When I try to replace the animations, again, Motioneer asks me to precompose to proceed. Yes, everything works fine. Well, other than copy layers, Motioneer offers many tools to save and manage the presets. More than presets, they are like animators. Let's start by saving an animation as animator. After selecting the layers or the layers transformation properties and masks I want to store, I click on the Add Animators button here and I name the animator as animator1. OK, look up. This info box shows me the animation duration. Next to the name, there is the number of the stored layers. We'll see later the number of stored parent layers and the number of stored track maths. If I click on the Settings button here, I can disable the info box if I don't need it. OK. Now I select only a couple of properties, position and rotation, and I'm gonna save the animator as animator1 probes only. OK, it is stored. Before to try to apply the animators, let's talk about to keep animators tidy. Motioneer lets you create folders by clicking on the folder button here. I'll name it folder 1. A folder is created in the animators list, and as you see, it's empty. To save an animator in a folder, I must select the folder and then click on the Add Animator button. Name it Animator2 and OK. Look, the folder changed. It's not empty anymore. To open it, I just double-click on it. Animator2 is inside the folder, of course. To close the folder, I double-click on it again. If I unselect the folder, the animators are stored in the main list. Let's save a multi-selection animator and name it multi-animator. As you see, the layers number is 2, as expected. Let's save the last animator. Text and shapes. 2 layers animator again. To apply animators to layers is very simple. It works exactly the same way it works with the copy tool. So I select the red layer and I add the animator 1. There are stored masks, so I need to confirm masks add. Here it is. The entire animator has been added. Because it's added, the animation starts at the layer original position. Let's try the replace option instead. As you see, Motioneer replaced the animation, also adapting it to the original layer and comp positioning and fitting. Now, let's replace the animation by using the properties only animator. As the original selection, the only applied properties are position and rotation, of course. What if I try to apply a 2 layers animator to a single selected layer? Well, it doesn't work. Motioneer asks to select one more layer and retry. The same happens if I select 2 layers and I try to apply a single layer animator. If I select the 2 layers animator and I apply it to a 2 layers selection, it works because the layers number matches the animator's stored layers. Let's delete the layers. When no layer is selected, Motioneer applies the animator to self-generated layers, named missing layers. To add or to replace an animator, I can also double-click on it, just like that. The animations are the adapted original ones, of course. Missing layers generation is the key to Motioneer flexibility. Why? Well, the missing layers are compositions layers, so you can enter the comps and add stuff. Or you can also replace the selected missing layers with new ones by holding down the Alt key while dragging from Project panel. I replace both layers. In the end, it is possible to use animators to generate animated layers to work with. It's nice to have animators, but they are useless if they cannot be previewed, right? And to preview, I just select an animator and then I click on the play button here. Motioneer start loop playing the self-generated animator inside the active comp using the original layers and comp sizes. The layers are in the solo mode, so I can only see the animator. When I'm done, I just click on the stop button to end the preview. Everything gets back to the previous state. Parents. Look at the animations. Well, now I'm gonna parent the child to the parent layer and the child of child to the child, just to get the parent's hierarchy. Every parent down in the hierarchy moves more than the linked parent, of course. I store the animations as parents animator. The info box, as you see, shows me the parent's number. Before to apply the animator, I use the remove tool to make it clear that it removes the keyframes, but also the parent's links. Okay, let's apply the animator in replace mode. They are text layers, so I do need to confirm recompose first. And now, because the animator contains parents, Motioneer alerts me that if it finds parents on the target layers, it will not use the animator parents, but it will retain the current ones. Look, the parents are applied correctly. I set these yellow solids as text layers track maths. First one and second one. So now the yellow solids reveal the text layers. Let's save the animator. The info box displays the track maths number, but if you look at the layers number here, it is only 2. Why? Well, to make it clear, I remove the animations and delete the track maths layers. The real layers are just the text layers. Motioneer always generates track maths based on the selected layer's size, so its engine doesn't count track maths. In fact, if I modify text layers, let's say math support, the size of the layers is different. I try to add the animator. Well, I can't apply the animator if I choose the add option. It can be tricky in many scenarios, so just now it's not supported. If I select the replace option, look, precomp, and the track maths are generated, and they fit the modified text layer's size precisely. Simple animation. The text you see here is a bounce expression from greymachine.com. Well, I'm gonna copy the expression. I don't need it anymore. I add it to the position property by holding down the Alt key, paste. Okay, the bounce expression works well. Let's save the animator for this layer. Well, if I use the remove tool, also the expression is removed. When I add or replace the animator, the position expression is set too. Motioneer store all the expressions, but be careful. If expression is linked to other layers, it won't work because Motioneer can't guess the linked layer, of course. Let's have a look at animators tools. To remove the selected animators, I click on the rename button here. Motioneer asks for the new names exp, anim, 1. Here they are. Now I remove text shapes animator and the multi-animator just by clicking on the trash button here. Confirm, done. Motioneer is very flexible. I can also export the animators to a file, then I can import animators from a file on other machines. Let's select the animators to export, all of them. To export, I need to click on the export button here. Motioneer needs a file name, of course. Exported animes. Save. Now let's remove the folder and some animators from the list. Only 2 animes left. I import the animators, click on the import button here. I need to select the file I exported, of course. OK. Motioneer opens the exported animators list, asking me to select the animators I like to import. I select just the folder, and done. It's in the list again, with its content. What if I try to import an already existing animator? Well, Motioneer asks for a new name. If I cancel, the animator is not imported. Otherwise, if I set the new name, for example, anim1 duplicate, here it is the duplicate. To end this overview, I just want to show you the power of Motioneer on this real complex animation. As you see, there are 14 layers with expressions, parents, track maths, masks, and many keys. A good way to test Motioneer power. Let's copy the animation and then delete all the layers. I also modify the comp size. Let's say 800 by 300. OK, let's generate the animator. It works like a charm. Everything is in place. Expressions, parents, track maths, masks, keys, layers order, and also layers duration. Well, that's all. Think to Motioneer as a way to save the cool animations you made and to reuse them in a very smart way. Cheers!